people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this. It's fight week. It's fight week for reigning WBA lightweight champion Stephanie Han, who will be taking on Colombia's own Paulina Angel in defense of her newly obtained WBA title. Her first title defense as WBA champion and her very first fight under the MVP banner, MVP having signed her scheduled for 10 rounds in the women's lightweight division. Stephanie, 34, to Paulina, who's 24, 10 years younger. Stephanie is registered as being 1.5 inches taller than Paulina Angel. A marginal difference, doesn't make that much of a difference. Stephanie Han sports an unblemished record of 10 wins with no losses, no draws, 3 knockouts, where young Paulina's record is a bit more up and down, sporting a professional record of 7 wins with 1 loss, 2 draws, 3 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 10 professional bouts. Same number of fights as Stephanie Han, minus the alphabet title. Paulina was last in action in February of this year opposite the ring, Johan Gonzalez, who she decisioned over 10 rounds. Before that, she fought once last year and once the year before that. Paulina has not been that active the last 2 years, averaging 1 fight a year the last 2 years. Whereas Stephanie has been a lot more prolific. She fought 4 times last year, 4 times last year alone, and she's already fought once this one back in February. This fight with Paulina this weekend will be her second fight of this year, and if she wins, there's still plenty of time to schedule another, an even bigger fight for Stephanie Han. This may not be a big name opponent, or even a big fight per se, but it is a significant one. The rest of Stephanie's career is on the other side of this fight with Paulina, to where, after a while, they're all high-stakes fights. After you win a belt. I think that's a big part of the reason that MVP decided to sign Stephanie Han. It's not just her pretty face, and it is pretty.
She's got legs till next Tuesday.
But it's because she has a belt. It is because she's one of the somebodies at 135 pounds. So keeping that title, staying WBA champion, is imperative, because in doing so, she can maybe land a defense, a high-profile fight with Holly Holm, who has since come back to boxing, and MVP has picked her up. She could have a unification match with Terry Harper, who MVP also signed. Yeah, she could do that too. All the high-profile fights, all the big paydays are on the other side of this Paulina Angel fight. The question is, can she make it there? Can she make it past Paulina? I've seen Paulina in action, and she's a bit rough around the edges, but there is something there, some ability. You can say that about Stephanie Han, too. She's a bit rough around the edges, she's a bit green around the gills, but there's ability there. I think what separates them isn't just an alphabet title. It's not just that Stephanie Han is world champion, it's that Stephanie Han is more maturated than Paulina, being 10 years older and a mom. She's a police officer who up until recently was just moonlighting as a boxer. I think having been picked up by MVP, she's gone into it full time. It takes a lot of gumption and a lot of drive to decide to go pro in boxing at 31 years old. I mean, that takes courage. When you're talking about 2 limited fighters that are rough around the edges, it's gonna boil down to a little more than just X's and O's. It may boil down to gumption. It may boil down to willpower, who wins this fight. And I think that Stephanie has more of that than Paulina. I think Stephanie wins the fight. I think Stephanie stays WBA champion. I don't know that she knocks out Paulina. I wouldn't be surprised if she did, because Stephanie packs a mean right hand. That's one of her standout qualities, is the straight right, down the pipe, the right cross.
Rick Ross.
I'm going to go with Stephanie to win the fight. I'm going to go with Stephanie to retain the WBA title and move on to bigger and better fish in the sea. Stephanie to win this weekend is the pick. Over to the men's junior middleweight division and the ongoing feud between Team Ortiz and Team Zayas, rather Team Zayas and Oscar De La Hoya. A back-and-forth exchange on Instagram where Oscar said, "Never in my wildest dreams did I think a Puerto Rican fighter would duck. I respect Puerto Rican fighters like Wilfredo, Tucotto, Tucalazo, Tutito. Bro, this is a bad look." To which Zender Zayas responded, "Oscar De La Hoya, it's a simple question. Are you letting your 27-year-old prospect fight me in Puerto Rico? Yes or no?" So this is being framed as Zender Zayas ducking Virgil Ortiz by not immediately accepting the offer that was made to him, even though he only had 3 days to accept. You guys already know that I have my reservations as to whether or not this was an offer made in good faith. But if we're to take all of this at face value, no conspiracy theories or strings attached. Zender didn't turn the fight down now, did he? He countered. He wants it in Puerto Rico. And he's the champion. He's got just as much, if not more, of a right to choose the site of the fight, the location, because you're the one that wants what he's got. You're the one that needs the shot. He already has a belt. What exactly is supposed to entitle Virgil Ortiz to dictate the split and the location of the fight to the champion? I've seen some already try to frame it to where Virgil's the bigger name. Virgil is the A-side? Based on what? Remember, Zender already accepted this fight. He accepted this fight when it was offered to him by Turkey. And Virgil went in a different direction. So that when the fight comes back around, and Zender is a champion now, you're expecting him to take the fight for less? You ain't gonna pay him what Turkey was gonna pay him for the fight, and he's got a belt now, but you guys think you deserve half? Listen, I don't really know that this was an earnest effort to make a fight, because they only went to Zender after things fell apart with Keith. Keith Thurman, they were talking to him first. Why is that weird? Why do I keep bringing that up, you ask? Because after things fell apart with Keith, you could have went to Sebastian. You're WBC interim champion. He has the WBC title. Why didn't you go to him after things fell apart with Keith? That guy actually owes you a title shot, but you ain't pestering him, and you ain't bothering him, offering him nothing.
That's suspicious.
Don't you want to fight for a title? Doesn't Sebastian Fundora have one too?
That's weird.
That's one way to put it. You went to Keith Thurman first. Keith Thurman, who doesn't hold a title in the junior middleweight division. You went to him first because of how bad you want to fight for a title, and after things didn't work with him, you didn't go to Sebastian. You didn't go to Bakram. Bakram Murtazaliev, who hasn't had a dance partner since he beat Tim Tszyu last year. That guy's been in limbo since last year. If you wanted a title shot so bad, you never thought to go to Sebastian Fundora? You never thought to go to Bakram Murtazaliev? They have titles too. And the only reason I think you went to Zender with this offer is because you didn't expect him to take it. A 50-50 split where you guys picked a location? For less money than what was originally offered for this same fight. Hey, who do you think gets more money on average? Virgil Ortiz or Zender Zayas? Why does that matter? Because Virgil Ortiz and his team have it in their heads. They're the A-side to Zender Zayas. Even though he's the one with the belt, they're pulling rank on him. They think they're the A-side over him. But I'll bet you that Top Rank pays Zender Zayas the same or more on average that Golden Boy pays Virgil. Never mind what Turkey paid Virgil to box on one of his shows. Turkey overpays everybody. That's not an accurate representation of the fighter's market value. What Golden Boy pays Virgil, that is, and what Top Rank pays Zender. And I'll bet you the guys at Top Rank are paying Zender more, on average, than the guys at Golden Boy are paying Virgil. Why do I think that? Well, why did Sinicia Estrada leave Golden Boy for Top Rank? Why did Jaime Munguia do the same thing? Money. Top Rank on average pays their fighters more than Golden Boy does. So when I think about Virgil trying to A-side Zender, who in all likelihood is already making more than him... Preposterous. Veteran boxing scribe Dan Rafael reacted to all of this, reacted to Oscar's offer of a pay-per-view fight in the winter, put simply saying, pay-per-view for this? This is comedy. You know, that's the other angle of it. At a time when the entire combat sports world, not just boxing but MMA as well, is moving away from the pay-per-view model, Oscar's proposition, at the very best, if it was even real, was for this to be a pay-per-view. But do you think this fight is pay-per-view worthy? Here and now? I don't. Dan Raphael doesn't. I'd wager that more than half the people all caught up in the swirl of this wouldn't pay to see it, wouldn't buy the pay-per-view. Pay-per-view sales are at an all-time low, and neither Virgil or Xander have the kind of following that warrant a pay-per-view. That if you did this fight here and now, it'd be a nice little fight between two nice little fighters, two young ones, but it wouldn't be that big a deal. Not yet. And I am to believe that Oscar De La Hoya was serious about making this fight. He was earnest in his efforts to do it later on this year. I don't buy it. I don't believe him. I'll tell you what I do believe. I believe that Oscar made this offer for the optics. He did it because he knew Xander wouldn't take it. He wouldn't take it right away so that when he doesn't, he can accuse him of ducking. At which point, they could go and do a Lubin fight without a guilty conscience, at least to the public. They'll say, hey, we tried to make a Zayas fight, but he didn't take the offer, so we're fighting Lubin. I think this is posturing. I think that Oscar did this for the optics. I think it's all just a smokescreen. Oscar's marinating the fight, like what he did with Canelo and Golovkin years ago. He's marinating the fight. That's what this is. He wasn't serious about doing it this year.
Oh, good.
He just wanted to get everybody arguing. He just wanted to get everybody worked up with this. Get the ball rolling for what will be Zayas versus Ortiz, but not this year. You got Canelo versus Crawford in September, which is not a pay-per-view. Then Benavidez versus Yard in November, which is also not a pay-per-view. Making Zayas versus Ortiz in December as a pay-per-view. Stupid. When everybody's thinking about Christmas and the holidays, and that's what they're spending their money on. He couldn't have been serious about doing this. This fight is nowhere near ready. This is posturing. This is playing the fans against each other to build the fight organically. I never thought they were going to fight this year anyway, so when they don't, I'm not surprised. I always figured if they do fight, it won't be at 154, it'll likely be at middleweight a year, maybe a year and a half from now. That's what I think. And all this, it's just posturing. It's just for show. You can play into it if you want to. Pick a side and stand on it, but I think it's all just for show. It's all just the show. So Xander Zayas is insistent that if Virgil wants a fight, it's got to be in Puerto Rico. But how's that supposed to happen if Top Rank is between broadcasters right now? To that, boxing insider Rick Glacier indicated Top Rank is finalizing a deal with a cable channel that has never done boxing previously to do one show a month. That's 12 shows a year. But the deal will not be exclusive for Top Rank, so Top Rank will be able to do business with other platforms, and Top Rank will retain the foreign rights to shows. Out of what little respect I may have for Top Rank, I will not disclose the network. What's with the contempt? Why all of a sudden does he have something against Top Rank? Because he's been making nice. He's been making buddy-buddy with the people over there at Golden Boy, so all of a sudden, he's acting like Top Rank is competition. If you're wondering, though, how is Xander supposed to fight in Puerto Rico at a time where Top Rank is between broadcasters? That's how. This entire time, people have been forecasting gloom and doom. Top Rank has been finalizing a deal with a major broadcaster this whole time, and it's not even new news. Bob Arum said this in more than one interview. We talked about it here on the channel. The only one who's changing his tune is Rick, because Rick has been chastising Top Rank and laying into them, bad-mouthing them, so that he can turn around and say this when this has been the story the whole time. Rick? What did I say? Given Top Rank's years of experience, I'm confident they will land on their feet. It's not going to be like it has been for the PBC. An interested party that goes by the name The Opinion, a big Heymanite, a big PBC fan, asked, will they be getting a big deal money-wise, or will they be paying for their own fights? To which Rick responded, middle-of-the-road type money. Why would a big Heymanite care whether or not Top Rank is getting a big deal? Because he's hoping the Top Rank will end up just as screwed up as the PBC has been for the last year and a half, since Fox and Showtime gave them the boot and they landed on Amazon. What he's hoping for is that Top Rank proves to be as big a failure as the PBC. Why? So that Heyman won't look as bad. So that he can turn around and say, before you criticize the PBC, look at Top Rank. Except Top Rank is rumored to already be doing better than the PBC. One show a month equals 12 shows a year. And on that schedule, they would already be doing substantially more shows than the PBC has on Amazon. And that's just one broadcaster. What did Bob Arum say? When they come back, they may have 2, they may have 3 broadcasters and even more fight dates than before. More than they had on ESPN. That's what Bob said. And at Bob's age, he's got no reason to sugarcoat anything. A guy like that, 90-something years old, close to 100, he ain't got time to waste with pleasantries. When he said they were working on a deal, I believed him. And when he said that they may have more than one broadcaster, I believe that too. That's what Rick Glacier's tweet states in so many words, that the new deal with this cable broadcaster will not be an exclusive deal, and they will have the wiggle room to work with other broadcasters, other networks. So who could Rick have been talking about? He said it's a broadcaster that never did boxing before. The industry rumor is they've been talking to Warner Brothers Discovery. Warner Brothers Discovery that never did boxing before. That fits the bill. There have been growing concerns that while Top Rank is finalizing this deal, where are we supposed to watch Inoue versus Akhmadaliev? Because normally we got our Inoue fix on the ESPN Plus platform. They're not with them anymore, so where are we supposed to watch that fight? Well, maybe that fight ends up on DAZN. Why? 2 weeks ago, Kenshiro Taraji versus Ricardo Sandoval ended up on DAZN, where normally, if you want to see Kenshiro fight, you watch him on ESPN. 2 weeks ago, his fight was on DAZN. So maybe Inoue's fight ends up on DAZN, where MJ Akhmadaliev already fights. Remember, MJ is a matchroom fighter, and matchroom fights happen on DAZN. If you're worried about that, in all likelihood, that's where that's gonna go down. That would be my guess. These international fighters that Top Rank may hold the U.S. rights to, the U.S. rights to their fights, maybe they auction off those rights to DAZN, which is an international platform that caters to more than one market. Your Naoya Inoue fights, your Junto Nakatani fights to a lesser extent, your Kenshiro Taraji fights, those fights, maybe they happen on DAZN. And the US fights, the domestic fighters, maybe those fights land on Warner Brothers Discovery. Now that would still leave room for a third broadcast partner, and perhaps, until they land one, they will outsource some of their fighters. Let them fight on different shows with different promotions, etc., etc. But I reiterate, Top Rank is gonna work it out. I think they're gonna work it out. They haven't been around this long for no reason. I think they're gonna land on their feet. If what you were hoping for was that they're gonna be just as screwed up as the PBC is right now, one fight a month. One fight, 12 fights a year. That's already more than the PBC is doing. The bar is set so low for the PBC, almost anything would be better than how they're doing right now. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see if these rumors check out. I expect that they will, and Top Rank will be back before you know it. With Xander Zayas with them.